Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for taking the time out today and joining me in this podcast. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, super excited for this episode and get to know more about you and what you do. So I know we chose the topic, which is hungry to healthy. We're going to talk about more into and get better understanding about health and nutrition and things like that, which you expert on. So before getting into that, I want to know more about you, how you became a coach and what you used to do before that and what made you like to become a coach.
Well, I am currently in my mid 50s, but when I was 37, my kids were just getting old enough, so they were kind of taking care of themselves, and
Yeah.
I had more time to myself, and I had that moment where I realized I didn't feel well. I was 37 and I felt
Hmm.
horrible, and I thought, wow, so this is it. This is it. The kids are done. I've done everything, and now I just have to sort of survive,
Yeah.
just kind of get through life. And it just seemed like a horrible situation. I couldn't imagine. My family tends to be fairly long lived, and I thought, wow, so the second part of my life is just going to be lousy, and it just didn't feel right to me. But you always hear people whispering in your ear, well, don't worry, you're almost 40, it's going to get even
Yeah.
worse. And I thought,
Yeah.
that's so not okay. So anyway, so at that point, um, I sort of tried to kind of pull myself together. I figured,
Hmm.
I'm in the US. I was just going to follow the food guidelines. I was just going to, pull it
Yeah.
together. I was going to win. And so I did that for a couple of years, and honestly, nothing changed. In fact, I would
Right.
say things probably got worse.
Yeah.
Um, but at this very same time, my daughter was having some digestive issues, and
Hmm.
she was getting ready to go to college, and I was concerned, and I didn't want her to go to school not feeling well. So we started working on her, and that's what led me into nutrition, because we actually didn't get the help we needed from conventional medicine here in the
Hmm.
US. So we had to figure it out ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's what got me into nutrition school, and I ended up getting my master's degree in nutrition. But while we were working on that, all of this made sense for me as well, for what I was going through. Just the weight gain, the inability to lose weight, the lack of energy, the mood swings, just being incredibly hungry all the time, which is this
Hmm.
whole idea of being hangry. So you're
Yeah.
hungry and also angry.
Hungry. Yeah.
Super fun to be around. So anyway, so that's what happened. And then I was able to really understand what I needed to do for my body. So I always refer to it as this communication problem. I was having a
Hmm.
communication problem. I didn't know how to communicate what I wanted to my body. So I thought I was communicating what I wanted, but in fact, I was really telling my body that I would like to have no energy. I'd like to sit around. I'd like to, um, you know, sleep terrible. And I also want to carry a lot of extra weight. That's what I was telling my body,
Yeah.
unbeknownst to me. So anyway, once I understood how to have a proper conversation and get my body, on my team, everything shifted. And so now in my mid 50s, I'm the person that I thought I should have been when I was 37.
Yeah.
And seriously, I don't feel like I'm in my mid 50s. So I feel young. I still feel like I don't know. Yeah. So it's that's kind of what's sort of
Yeah. I
happened.
can feel that you got the energy there. So yeah, it tells you. Yeah. So obviously, how diet, exercising, and looking after yourself can make a difference. And I can feel that as well myself because I was overweight a couple of years back. I had a process because of my asthma. So sometimes I can balance it out, sometimes I can't. So
Mhm.
I was all of a sudden from 74 kg to 96 kg within span of about 2, 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I felt it, I got chubiness and everything. I can't walk like 1 mile, out of breath all the time. After like a midday, I'm tired. I just need to be bed or something, or like feeling so exhausted. So coming from this, I know how it feels like when you feel terrible about yourself, that energy not there, you don't want to go out, you don't want to do much.
Yeah.
So
One of my clients referred to it as her body and her brain had this
mhm,
disconnect. So her body was, her brain was like, let's go, go, go. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. And her body was
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, 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 we're going to sit and go slow. And so she
Yeah.
said, I needed them to meet, I needed them to be the same.
Yeah, I was the same situation. So all the time looking for the comfort. Even though I wanted to go out on a weekend and everything, I feel like no, I'm gonna take a rest
Right.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what really happened? Like what made you that shift to
Well,
becoming a
it
coach?
was, and I think of myself as a nutrition consultant
Mhm.
and a health and lifestyle coach. So the nutrition consultant part is where I come in and I can help people understand, what food is
Yeah.
and how kind of to use food to better themselves. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like, it sounds so silly, but I feel like I help people understand how to eat. It sounds
Yeah.
so silly, but it's kind of like, how do you eat for what you want, for the health you want, for the body you want? If you're young, maybe it's fertility. So there's all these different things you have to take into consideration when you're thinking about your diet. So that's where the nutrition consultant part of it comes in. And then on top of that, nothing changes until something changes.
Yeah.
So it's of course a lot about habit change. How are you living? Is it,
Mhm.
what's your lifestyle like? Because those habits are determine exactly what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm definitely a low sugar nutritionist. So it's all about, we all eat too much sugar. So we live on this blood sugar roller coaster, which is creating the energy dips and the mood swings and, the bad sleep. If you're doing this at night when you're trying to sleep,
Mhm.
your sleep's going to be disrupted. So getting off the blood sugar roller coaster and kind of evening out your energy, your mood, all of that is that's what I tackle with people first.
Yeah.
And I so often have people who just are, I don't eat a lot of sugar. That's not my thing. I don't really like sweets, but they're more like the carboholic, the chips, the
Mhm.
pasta, the bread, the crackers, the pizza, oatmeal. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And people just don't understand that you're still setting yourself up for this, this big bowl of oatmeal in the morning. Whew, you're just going straight up to come straight back down. Um, so that's what we do first is get off of the sugar, but we do it in a transitional way. So there's not this deprivation and this, oh, boo-hoo, I can't have dessert stuff. No,
Yeah.
we're going to figure that out. You're going to have dessert.
Yeah. So let's talk about the topic is today is like hungry to healthy.
Yeah,
So why did you choose the topic hungry to healthy? That's like a
because
quite
that's how
interesting
it
one, isn't
felt,
it? Yeah.
right? So this is hangry. This is you being just all over the place. And I feel like once you balance this out, then
Yeah.
you are healthy. Like you feel good. And I've noticed that once people actually recognize what feeling good is, because they've forgotten,
Mhm.
all of a sudden this and not feeling good is no longer acceptable. They're very tuned in. That's the other thing that's great is once you get off the roller coaster, you're very tuned in to what feels good for you. Like you'll eat something maybe that you love that you used to eat and you'll be like, oh, that I don't feel well, and you'll notice. So
Yeah.
I love that. That's like my favorite thing is when somebody dives back into something they haven't been doing and then they call me and they're like, I feel terrible. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. Which is so mean, but it's not. It's brilliant when you can start to be able to read those cues yourself,
Yeah.
because now all of a sudden you're in control. So you're starting, like a lot of people, what's going on is most people are reactive, right? They're
Yeah.
living this sort of reactive life. So they're trying a diet, they're trying to jumpstart an exercise program because they need to fix, their thighs or something specific, or, whatever it is. It's very reactive. Oh, I have heartburn. I guess I should not eat these things or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's like you kind of have to find the root cause. Like, what's the biggest? I always like to go for like broad strokes. I always think of everything as a funnel. We start with very broad strokes and then we kind of work our way down. Most
Yeah.
people recover up here at the broad strokes, but some people, there's other things going on. So you have to get a little bit more specific. So you really want to shift. Now we get back to that lifestyle idea. So instead of being reactive, you want to be creative. So all of a
Mhm.
sudden now you're intentionally doing things. So you're actually making a plan and creating the life that you want to live. So that's kind of the big shift, going from being reactive to being creative,
Yeah.
taking ownership and knowing that actually you can, that's my, everybody has control over how they want to feel, how they want to look, but they just have to understand, first of all, that they do. And second of all, what now? So how do I do
Yeah.
that if I can do it?
So when someone comes to you and like you're looking for the kind of help, they're probably overweight or probably need to get the fitness right. Some people not even overweight, but low in
Yeah.
energy, low in stamina, and probably dizziness, and so many other things, backache, knee
Yeah.
aches. That there is so many
Bad sleep.
health issues. Yeah, not sleeping well. So when someone comes, what do you actually do at the beginning? Like, what is the mindset like and the process like?
Yeah. Well, so there's two things. So my Hangry to Healthy is actually a 12-week program that I run.
Yeah.
So we get in there and then we start sort of, the first step is really evaluating what's happening. Like the first week, we really are just like, I want to see exactly what you're doing. Don't change anything. Just tell me, tell me what's going on. Tell me what you ate today, what you eat tomorrow. I just want to know exactly what's happening, because we can't change what we don't know. So we have to like see. And then I start educating about where the sugars might be coming in and why their energy might be up and down and where they're kind of causing this issue, like issues in their fuel system. So there's this whole idea of body fuel. And the last thing your body taps into is actually body fat, it's your personal pantry that you're carrying around. So unless you understand this fuel system and how you actually get into the body fat, more than likely you're actually trapping that body fat. You can't access it and you're actually adding to it. So we go through that so they really understand, the sugars and the stored sugars and then the fats that come in through the diet, and then how your body actually opens and releases stored body fat for fuel. So that's a huge, people love that little chunk where we go through that. That's a big eye opener for a lot of people, because they don't really understand how it's related to what they're carrying around and why they can't get rid of this body fat. So I actually have a free mini course on my website, and I think it's a 5-day mini course, and I think it's day 3 that we go through that whole funnel of body fuel. Yeah, so everybody really likes that, but that really helps them understand, oh, I see why I need to kind of cut back on my sugars. I see where there's a clog here.
Yeah.
And then often what people do, because keto is so popular right now, so they'll get their sugars under control. So this is what I do. This is my process. So we're going to get the sugars under control. And so now your body's able to you're not depleting sugars. You're just bringing it to a normal, healthy level. So you have just enough sugars in your bloodstream. Your body's happy, just enough sugar in storage. So if you need to jump out of the way of a speeding bicyclist or a car or a barking dog, you're good to go. Then we get into the fats. And so the beginning of my program, it's all about the sugars. Let's break that sugar addiction without feeling deprived and sad. So we do transitional foods and we figure out how to adapt recipes and, use different pantry items. And then once everybody's really feeling good and it's really going well, depending on their goals, if they have a weight loss goal, then we're going to get in there and we're going to start looking at the fats. So this is where people run into trouble, is they drop their sugars and then they start eating a lot of fat, because we've all now heard fats are healthy, they're good for us. And this is true, but you can totally overdo the fats. So if you are filling up your fatty acid compartment, you still aren't going to get into your body fat. Your body has plenty of fuel coming right in. It's like you're giving it all this fuel on a silver platter. So then we get off the sugars, then we get into the fats, and then we start to manage. Like, how do we manage those fats? And actually, and I think this is where I'm a little bit different, because I am low sugar, but once people get really comfortable understanding that, then we play with this carbohydrate fat seesaw. Some people feel a little bit better with more carbohydrate. Some people feel a little better with more fat. And so you don't want to do them fats and carbs together. It's always going to be a seesaw. One's going to be higher than the other. And for somebody like for me, some days I'm a higher carb day. Some days I'm a higher fat day. It just depends on the day. But I know if I'm, craving bacon one day, that's going to be a higher fat day for me. So
Yeah.
my carbs are probably going to be lower.
So end of the week, you balance it out anyway, right?
Right. So I always, and that's the other thing, if anybody's tracking, which,
Yeah.
we don't even do that at first, but we will get into that in my program later if people want to really dial it in.
Yeah.
I always take 7 days and average it. I never want to see a day to day. I'm like, give me
Mhm.
7 days. We'll just average it all out 7 days because it's always up and down.
Yeah, because someday like you're not feeling well, or someday you're having a low day, stressful work. So when you're stressed out, you not tend to lose the fat, right? Or correct me
Um,
wrong.
wait, to ask me again.
So if you're having a stressful day, that
Yeah.
day you not tend to lose lots of calories, or you're not going to burn calories or fat.
Right. Because
Yeah.
so we haven't even talked about hormones, but of course, insulin is a factor.
Yeah.
And so when your sugars are high, your insulin is high. So that's going to block your fat.
Yeah.
When your stress is high, your insulin is high. So even if
Mm.
you've cut your sugars, but your stress is sky high, you can block your body fat. Now, this can also happen just from exercise. So that's another thing that I don't get into with people at the beginning. It's a
Yeah.
second tier, because if you're already high stress and then you want to add exercise on top of that, that's a negative stressor.
Mhm.
Whereas if you're using exercise properly and your body's ready to exercise and you have extra energy, then that's a positive stressor. But if you're going to add exercise on top of already being stressed and you're forcing yourself to do it, it's not, you're just making things worse. So,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. If you're not sleeping well, your stress is up. You're not going to be burning fat the way you should.
Yeah, and that is like when it comes to goal setting for your client when they come at the beginning, is there any ideal expectation you set them? Like, is a goal-oriented approach or process-oriented approach? Like, let's say someone wants to lose 20 pounds in next 90 days or something. Is there something you go for it, or like we need to focus on the process? Like, how's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, I am. If you're coming in and you want a quick fix, I'm not for you.
Yeah.
In my 12-week program, everybody loses weight. I've not had the only people who haven't lost weight are people who came in and said, I don't want to lose any weight. Because I do
Mhm.
get those people, like you said, people who just don't feel well,
Yeah.
or their body, women in their mid 50s, often their body composition has shifted. So they weigh the same, but they look different. And so they're like,
Yeah.
what's happening? So then we work on that. But everybody tends to lose weight, but it's, my process, the idea is by the end of 12 weeks, I want you to not need me. I want you to know exactly how your body's working, what you need to do to get what you want. So often people tend to often stay on after 12 weeks because they want to stay with the, coaching calls and whatever. So I definitely have clients who, were a year out and they're, it's kind of funny because they thought maybe they needed to lose 20 pounds
Mhm.
and that was kind of their goal, and that's great. But it's a year out, and this one particular person I'm thinking of, she's at 45 pounds, and she said, and then another woman who's like, I just didn't know that I didn't know I had weight to lose, but she's like, I'm at like my low before I had kids, and she's like, I didn't think I could ever get there again. But it wasn't like they were forcing it. It was just what naturally happened by staying the course and actually shifting their everyday habits. And it just, if once you shift, there's nothing that's going to stop your body from moving toward optimal. And so that's what happened with these women. It just sort of kept going. They thought they had a certain target and their body was like, well, why? That's not optimal. Let's just keep going. So
Yeah, so we see like oftentimes like when the new year comes, beginning of January, everyone on New Year resolution, like I need to lose some, becoming healthy or going to the gym, things like that. But oftentimes, like after like a few weeks, on a mid-February, we're not on track. Like we don't go to the gym anymore, we're not hitting healthy, or nothing goes our way. So in order to sticking to the process, what are your process like to make someone like stick to the plan?
well, that's why, first of all, that's why I start at 12 weeks, because I want them to go like this And when I do this, it's not a blood sugar roller coaster. This is just I'm super motivated. I'm really into it. And then they sort of fade, and everybody does that, right? We all do it. We're really excited. So one of the things it's so important for people to understand is motivation is awesome. If you have motivation, run with it, but it's very fleeting. So they have to understand that willpower, while also fleeting, is something that is kind of available even when motivation lags. So just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean you can't, right? And so I try to make things as easy as possible so people don't have to use willpower to kind of gut through anything. There's no white knuckling it. So that when they do have those moments where they do have to sort of go, all right, I'm going to need just a little bit of willpower to, do this thing, they have it. But the point is, I like people to kind of go through, I'm trying to think of what people in my program call it. Somebody had a phrase, it was perfect. But anyway, where they kind of fade and they're just like, I'm not feeling it. I'm kind of, and I'm like, that's good. We want to be there because I want you to see that you can still make progress. And it doesn't matter. It passes. You have to understand and ride the wave. So you have to know the low is going to come, but it's no big deal. It's fine. It's, maybe this is when you're going to have a dessert or a treat or something that you wouldn't normally have, but it's going to be something that we've created so it doesn't spike your blood sugar. So you're going to have this lovely little emotional treat without messing up your progress and screwing up your metabolic hormones. So there's just little things that we add in there, but most importantly, it's just so people understand it's okay. You don't have to feel great every single day, and you shouldn't expect to, because that's not normal. So, but when I feel like if we stay with 12 weeks together, they're able to go through some of those lows and we talk through it and we talk about what are you thinking, what's going on. And so so we do there's this whole module called Thinking on Purpose. So we do a lot about like being able to sit for 90 seconds with an emotion and think about what is it you're really feeling. It's only 90 seconds. Just sit there and just feel it. It's not going to hurt you, So we're very scared of not feeling. Well, we're all very afraid of feeling disappointed and ashamed and sad and lonely, but you just have to sit with it 90 seconds and it kind of waves past.
Yeah, that's great. So we have like oftentimes misconception, which is if we skip a meal, we're gonna lose some weight. So most of the time I see on the woman especially does having like a one meal a day or probably having a coffee in the morning and they starve all day to lose the weight. So do you think are they actually losing the weight or storing more fat on it? So with my experience, it's storing more fat.
Well, it depends. Also, it can be very stressful, right? If you're having one meal a day or you're trying not to eat at all. So I am a fan of intermittent fasting, but only if it's happening naturally. So I don't present that early in my program at all. I wait until people start saying, well, I'm not really hungry. I forgot to eat breakfast. And I'm like, okay, so now let's have a conversation about intermittent fasting. If that's happening naturally because you're not hungry, then that can be fine. It can be healthy. It can totally work for you. But if you're forcing a fast, it's a stressor. So and then you tend to kind of create this cycle where you're going to force the fast, but it's going to catch you and then you're going to binge. So I'd say one of the biggest things I struggle with is trying to get, especially women, to eat. I'm like, you have to eat. So, we talk about that because I do push a lot of protein. So when you start to prioritize your protein, you tend to be able to eat less without trying. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of balance your intake a little bit. But it's, but again, that's another, we got to get off the sugars before we're even going to get there. So,
yeah. And the process is for everyone is different, isn't it? Some people gonna progress really well, some of them gonna be slow because the metabolism and everything, there's a key factor as well.
Yeah, it is different. It's different, but it's funny to see how everybody I work with, especially when I'm doing a group, how quickly they get off the sugar cravings go away. Then their sleep improves their
Mhm.
energy skyrockets. I mean, it's so interesting to see all of those things happen kind of at the same time with everyone. And now at the same, now having said that, that doesn't mean that their scale has moved.
Yeah.
So they're like, but I'm not losing any weight. And I'm like, yes, but what you're saying, so I always have people kind of, I call it trace back your day. So it's TRACE. So T is temperament or mood, R is rest or sleep, A is appetite, C is cravings, and E is energy. So we always look at those on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being great, 0 bad.
Yeah.
And as you see those numbers moving toward the tens, then I know metabolically they're getting balanced. So even if
Mhm.
their scale hasn't moved, it's going to move because now their body's starting to respond. It's starting to go, oh, I see what you're doing here. I like it. Let's keep
Yeah.
doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, like those who are listening, our audience, if you want to tell them like in a few words how they get on the diet, because we are in a Q4 finishing the year, nearly November, also we're coming for like lots of holidays coming.
Yes.
So there is Thanksgiving, Christmas, and obviously
New
there's a
Year's.
parties. Yeah. Uh, and a lot of people are going to celebrate more this year comparing to last year. Last year was on a lockdown and everything.
Right.
So this year people are going to more restaurant, going for outing and meal. So who wants to like doing a new resolution for next year? Aren't they supposed to start from now, or do you think like from beginning of the year?
So my Hangry to Healthy program, I always do a group starting October 1st. And I call it my
Yeah.
holiday group because we
Yeah.
go through the holidays together. And the whole point is let's wake up January 2nd and feel better than we
Mhm.
did in November or even December. So that group started October 1st and they're doing great. So right now I won't open my next group until January. So that,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, it's very funny. My holiday group, I always think it's going to be my big group, but it's usually my small group. I think people get really nervous about going, wait, I'm going to be restricted during the holidays. When in fact, what we do is we try to make it non-restrictive, but just making it different choices. And again, we're using different ingredients and pantry items. So you're having your favorites, but you're doing it in a different way. So you're not kind of messing yourself up.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then I do another group in January. So for anybody that kind of wanted to just not think about anything, get through the holidays, then we can jump in January and we start again. So in the interim, I mentioned that I had that free mini course. So I had that, I sort of put that together for people in between. So if you go to my website, which is called thesimplicityoFwellness.com, you'll see that right on the front page, it just takes you through a couple of clicks and then you sign into the mini program or mini course and you just get it through email. I tried to make it super simple.
Yeah.
And then of course I always do, if people contact me directly, then I always do private one-on-ones. So it's either private one-on-ones or the group. But I only take a few private one-on-ones, but that's kind of what that's what I do. And the mini course is sort of something to kind of get you started, get your head around the idea. Do I really want to make change? So often people think they do, but they have conflicting priorities and they don't even realize it. So the first part of my mini course, the first thing they're going to go in is understand kind of why they want to make change, why they're looking into this, and then evaluate if they have conflicting priorities, things that are going to hold them back from actually making those changes, because they may not be ready. So it's good to kind of know that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you so much for like sharing your knowledge and expertise on the topic. We are running out of time for this podcast. So if anyone wants to reach out to you through social media, do you have any social media to connect with?
So on Facebook, I'm The Simplicity of Wellness.
Yeah.
On Instagram, I'm The Simplicity of Wellness. I think I'm The Simplicity of Wellness on LinkedIn as well. But again, if you just go to my website, there's a contact me button there as well. But either way, private message me on Instagram, private message me on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much for coming and for sharing your knowledge, Amy. I'm really grateful for that. So I wish you good luck with your work life, business, and coaching, and also with your health as well.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I love sharing this information and empowering people to just do it. It's worth it. All right. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. So that's a wrap, guys. So you know how to find Amy for if you want to go and check out her work, if you want to get into her coaching program, or you want to connect to get some advice or something, you can reach out to her on social media as well. So till then, I'll see you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay healthy. Take care.